The root of the problems today, the biggest issue in marriages, isn't the differences themselves, but the poor way these situations are handled. People often don't stop to reflect on what they learned in their families of origin. How was money managed? What were the examples of fidelity, companionship, or parenting in the home they grew up in? If we don't reflect on these things, we bring the same behaviors into our marriages without questioning whether they're healthy or functional. And worse, when we try to solve problems, we often act the same way our parents did, repeating cycles that aren't always ideal. Marriage as a growth opportunity. Marriage is an opportunity to break these cycles. It's about growing together, learning to respect differences and finding balance. It doesn't matter if you're a wolf or a son of Diana. What matters is building a home where both partners feel valued and at peace. By identifying these differences early and working to understand them, couples can avoid unnecessary conflicts and create a stronger foundation for their marriage. Respect, communication, and intentional effort are the keys to making it work. The big question in marriage isn't about choosing the wrong person. Most of the time, people choose the right person, but behave the wrong way with them. This is a common mistake. Let me tell you a story. One day, a woman came to me and said, "Pastor, my husband is lazy. All he wants to do is sleep. The enemy planted this man in my life." I asked her, "What exactly is the problem?" She said, "Oh, Pastor, I think he might even have a demon." And I thought, here we go again, casting out the spirit of laziness. The problem is that often people disguise their issues or pretend they don't exist. And if you ignore a problem, it grows and can destroy you. Don't do that. Call your spouse, your children, or whoever else is necessary and work together to solve the problem. Let me share something personal. Do you think everything is perfect in my house? It's not. Just the other day I had a disagreement with my wife. When I got home, my 2 kids were waiting for me. One of them said, "Dad, we're here because we have a matter to address. Mom complained about you." I thought, great, now I'm the bulldozer in the house. We sat down to talk. It felt like a mediated negotiation. My kids took on the roles of judge and defense attorney, trying to find balance. And you know what was amazing? Seeing how they entered the conversation with wisdom, listened to both sides, and helped restore peace in the house. It was a beautiful demonstration of teamwork that I value deeply, because, in the end, that's what marriage is about, solving problems together, even if it sometimes takes a little help. Here's what I want you to take away today. The problem isn't just yours. You might think your wife or husband is the only difficult one, but let me tell you something. No one is perfect. Once a woman told me, "Pastor, all men are the same." And I asked her, if they're all the same, why were you so picky when choosing one? The key is to stop romanticizing or dramatizing. The person you're with is the right one, but you both need to work together to find the right path. Don't neglect the issues. If something needs to be addressed, face it. Sometimes it's easy to laugh at the problems, but it's crucial to understand that they can only be resolved through dialogue, patience, and a willingness to work things out. Some of you who are laughing here today, after an hour and a half, might already be thinking about how to improve life at home. I also want to take a moment to thank this opportunity to speak to such a diverse audience. We have Catholics, Spiritists, esoteric practitioners, and regardless of your beliefs, I'm here to talk about how to improve life based on the principles of God's Word. That's what matters. Learning and growing. Whatever your situation is, remember this. The person you're with is your choice. Maybe your wife has her quirks or your husband is a little unconventional. But in the end, you are the right people for each other. You just need to adjust your course together. Let's open for questions now. Let's address your questions. Who would like to begin? Here's an important one about adultery. All right, let's tackle this topic because it's a serious issue. On adultery, adultery is, without a doubt, a very serious problem in marriage. When Jesus was asked about divorce, he said something very important. Divorce happens because of the hardness of the heart. In the case of adultery, it often represents the peak of an unmet need. Many times there's a lack in the relationship, whether emotional, physical, or even spiritual, that hasn't been addressed. This deficiency grows and intensifies, and the enemy seizes the opportunity to create situations that, unfortunately, lead to adultery. Adultery doesn't begin with a single moment. It's the result of unresolved issues that have built up over time. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for preventing and healing relationships affected by it. Marriage is about partnership and continually working together to meet each other's needs, even in challenging times. It's important to understand that no one wakes up in the morning thinking, "Today I'm going to cheat on my spouse." That doesn't happen suddenly. Usually adultery begins with small cracks in communication, emotional disconnection, or unresolved resentments. The problem is that many people ignore the warning signs and only learn the lesson after experiencing extreme pain, like the shame of betrayal. Unfortunately, what often happens after adultery is that the betrayed spouse wants to stay in the relationship, not to rebuild but to torture the other person with what happened. This solves nothing. It's painful and damaging for both parties. No one falls into adultery out of nowhere. It often starts with an innocent conversation. "Hi, how are you?" "Not great."